Some people wake up before sunrise feeling alert, focused, and ready to begin the day. Others feel most creative and energized long after midnight. Some struggle every morning, no matter how early they go to bed. Others feel sleepy at 9 p.m. without effort. Why? Is it discipline, habit, personality, or is something deeper happening inside the brain? The answer lies in something called your chronotype, and your chronotype is shaped by your biology, the internal clocks inside your brain. There is a tiny structure about the size of a grain of rice. It is called the suprachiasmatic nucleus, or SCN. This structure sits in the hypothalamus and acts as your master biological clock. It receives signals directly from your eyes. When light enters your eyes, the SCN adjusts your internal rhythm. It regulates sleep timing, body temperature, hormone release, alertness levels, metabolism. This 24-hour cycle is called your circadian rhythm, and no two circadian rhythms are exactly the same. What is a chronotype? A chronotype describes your natural preference for sleep and wake timing. It determines whether you feel most alert in the morning, most productive in the evening, or somewhere in between, early birds or larks. Naturally wake early and feel sleepy early. Night owls feel alert later and struggle with early mornings. This difference is not laziness, it is biology. The role of melatonin. Melatonin is often called the sleep hormone. It rises in the evening and signals the body that it is time to rest. In early birds, melatonin release begins earlier. In night owls, melatonin release is delayed. This delay shifts the entire sleep window later. If a night owl is forced to wake early, they may be waking before melatonin has fully declined. This creates grogginess and reduced cognitive performance. It is not lack of effort, it is misalignment. Genetics and chronotype theory shows that chronotype is partly genetic. Certain gene variations affect circadian timing. Twin studies demonstrate that identical twins often share similar chronotypes. However, environment also matters. Light exposure, screen use at night, social schedules, and work demands can all influence timing. But your baseline preference is largely biological. Teenagers and delayed sleep phase teenagers naturally shift toward a later chronotype. During adolescence, melatonin release is delayed. This is why many teenagers feel alert late at night and struggle with early school times. It is not rebellion, it is a biological phase. As people age, chronotype often shifts. Older adults tend to wake earlier. Sleep timing evolves across the lifespan. Social jet lag: when your biological clock does not match your social schedule, you experience something called social jet lag. It is similar to traveling across time zones, but instead of crossing countries, you're crossing expectations. For example, a natural night owl forced to wake at 6 a.m. may accumulate sleep debt. On weekends, they sleep later. This irregular pattern disrupts circadian stability. The result? Daytime fatigue, mood instability. Reduced performance. Consistency matters more than strict early timing. Cognitive performance and timing studies show that performance peaks at different times depending on chronotype. Morning people perform best earlier. Night owls peak later. If tested outside their optimal window, performance declines. This affects reaction time, memory, focus, decision-making. Chronotype influences cognition throughout the day. Can you change your chronotype? This is a common question. The answer is you can shift it slightly, but you cannot fully erase it. Light exposure is the strongest regulator. Morning sunlight shifts its clock earlier. Evening light shifts it later. Limiting screens before bed reduces blue light exposure. Gradually adjusting sleep time by 15 to 30 minutes per day can shift timing, but extreme changes are difficult to maintain if they conflict with biology. Night owls and creativity. Interestingly, studies suggest night owls may show higher creative performance in evening hours. When the prefrontal cortex is slightly less inhibited, associative thinking can increase. However, this advantage depends on sufficient sleep. Sleep deprivation reduces all cognitive benefits. Creativity does not thrive without restoration. Early birds and stability. Early chronotypes often show more consistent routines. Lower rates of sleep disruption, better alignment with traditional work schedules. However, no chronotype is superior. They are variations. Diversity in timing may have been evolutionarily beneficial. In early human groups, some individuals stayed alert later, others woke earlier. This increased collective vigilance. Chronotype and health. Chronic misalignment between chronotype and schedule has been associated with increased stress, mood changes, reduced metabolic stability. But this does not mean being a night owl is unhealthy. It means forced misalignment creates strain. Supporting natural timing improves regulation. The bigger picture chronotype reminds us that sleep is not just about hours, it is about timing. Biology operates in rhythms. Hormones rise and fall on predictable cycles. When we respect those cycles, cognition improves, emotion stabilizes, energy becomes consistent. When we ignore them, fatigue accumulates. So why are some people night owls and others early birds? Because the internal clock runs at slightly different speeds. Because melatonin timing varies. Because genetics shape rhythm. Because age shifts patterns. And because the brain is not identical from one person to another. Tonight, as you prepare for sleep, consider your own rhythm. Do you feel alert early? Later, understanding your chronotype is not about labeling yourself. It is about recognizing how your brain prefers to function. Sleep is not one size fits all. It is biological timing expressed uniquely in each person. Asterisk, it's important to understand something clearly. Being a night owl is not simply liking the night. And being an early bird is not simply enjoying mornings. Chronotype is deeply connected to the speed of your internal clock. Most human circadian rhythms are slightly longer than 24 hours. On average, about 24.2 hours, your brain corrects this slight difference using light exposure. But the exact length varies slightly between individuals. If your internal clock runs a little longer, you naturally drift later. If it runs slightly shorter, you drift earlier. This small biological variation creates noticeable lifestyle differences. Asterisk core body temperature and alertness. Another important factor is body temperature rhythm. Your body temperature follows a daily cycle, drops at night and rises during the day. Alertness closely follows its temperature curve. Early birds experience their temperature rise earlier. Night owls experience it later. This explains why. Early birds feel sharp in the morning. Night owls feel slow at 8 a.m. Night owls feel mentally alive at 11 p.m. The brain's alertness is not random. It is thermally regulated. Asterisk hormonal. Differences. Cortisol, often called the alertness hormone, also follows a circadian rhythm. In early chronotypes, cortisol rises earlier. In late chronotypes, the rise is delayed. This shift affects focus, energy, motivation, mood. The timing of hormonal release creates different daily experiences. 2. People may both sleep 8 hours but feel completely different at 7 a.m. Asterisk evolutionary advantage of chronotype. Diversity. Why would humans evolve to have different chronotypes? One theory suggested improved group survival in early human tribes. If everyone slept at the same time, the group would be vulnerable. But if some individuals stayed alert later and others woke earlier, the group maintained continuous vigilance. In other words, night owls and early birds may have evolved to complement each other. Chronotype diversity may have been adaptive. Modern society versus biological timing. Modern schedules often favor early timing. School starts early. Work begins in the morning. Social expectations reward early rising, but biological variation remains. This mismatch can create chronic strain for late chronotypes. Research shows that night owls forced into early schedules often accumulate sleep debt. This increases stress levels and reduces cognitive consistency. The issue is not moral discipline. It is circadian mismatch performance timing experiments in controlled laboratory studies. Participants are tested at different times of day. Results consistently show people perform best during their preferred chronotype window. Morning types peak earlier, evening types peak later. Outside their peak window, reaction time slows, memory declines, and error rates increase. This effect is measurable. chronotype influences productivity. Can you train yourself to be a morning person? Many people try. Gradual exposure to early light can shift circadian timing slightly. Consistent wake times help. Avoiding bright screens at night helps. But extreme changes are often unstable long term. If your biological clock prefers later timing, forcing early wake times requires continuous effort. Some shift is possible. Complete transformation is rare. chronotype and mental health. There is growing research linking chronotype to mood patterns. Late chronotypes sometimes show higher rates of mood instability when forced into early schedules. However, when sleep timing aligns with biology, many of these effects decrease. The problem is not being a night owl. The problem is misalignment. Productivity. There is a cultural myth that waking early equals success, but biology does not reward uniform timing. Success depends on quality sleep consistency. Alignment with cognitive peaks. Some of history's most creative individuals were late chronotypes. Others were early risers. Productivity is not about time of day, it is about working with your rhythm.